to start recording.
Okay, and then I'll bring up the presentation.
All right. So good afternoon, everyone. Susan and I are so happy to be with you all today. I'm very happy to be joined by my friend Susan Ganz, and we wanted to put something together for you all because we know that over the past year, business owners that we have been working with have been going through a lot of change and turmoil, to say the least, that we've never seen before. And it's so important now to focus on where we go from here, that we make sure we remain protected, and most importantly, that we keep our businesses moving forward. Susan, I'll pass it over to you to introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Erin, and so delighted to see everyone today. So I'm Susan Ganz. I'm the founder and chief of staff and business strategist with Ganz Strategic Solutions. And what I do is I take my corporate experience around lending, management, consulting, technology management, and advisory work, and bring this to my growth and change management consulting. And some people say I'm like a WD-40 for businesses, really helping them to get unstuck and move forward. And the topic that we're going to be talking about today was really informed through my experiences, my own journey, as well as lessons learned from clients over the years. And I know that Erin feels the same in her work. And it's about how do you move forward through various crises and any challenges that your business might face. So over to you, Erin, to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Susan. Great to see everyone today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a financial planner at Certified Financial Services. We are a holistic wealth management firm over in Paramus, New Jersey. And I like to say that I help to educate and empower those that I work with on financial protection, with wealth accumulation strategies, and ultimately to provide them with the tools to understand how to move forward and to reach their goals, both personally and professionally.
And so, jumping ahead. In today's session, what we want to cover is determining what's important to you, because that becomes your guidepost. And then we're going to discuss the importance of self-care for you and for your business. And the topic of self-care seems very timely these days with what happened at the French Open this week with Naomi Osaka. And the third objective that we have today is really about raising awareness of becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable, knowing that change is a constant and really being open to the growth that comes from it. And so we're going to start with knowing your purpose, and I'm going to turn it over to Erin to get us started in the discussion.
All right. And at any time, guys, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to put them in the chat. And we want this to be very interactive as we're going through this. So what is this picture, right? This is what I like to call the lifestyle inflation hamster wheel, right? How many of you have ever felt like this, where we feel stuck and we can't break free from our debt, or we're struggling to get out of a certain pattern, right? Or the more money that we make, the more that we feel like we're spending. Most people, right, we're starting to become aware of this trap that we've gotten ourselves into. And it's the number one thing that will break and ruin our chances of really achieving financial freedom. And the truth is that people of all income brackets and business industries are impacted by this, right? Spending more on things that we don't need, or spending dollars in certain areas that might not be so great. So that's why it's so important. And we'll get into how to get out of this cycle and break free from this hamster wheel. Susan, I'll pass it over to you to talk more about the importance of knowing our why.
And your purpose. Yes, absolutely. And just so you know, we're going to scratch the surface and bring some ideas to you today. And if you want to go deeper, there'll be opportunities to do that. And as Erin said, I'd reinforce, asking questions in the chat, and then we do have time too at the end for questions, but we can certainly weave questions in as we talk. So we're with understanding our purpose and our why. It's about saying, well, why do you do what you do? And to not jump to the how or the what, but really getting clear on this, because this becomes your foundation. And perhaps you've done this exercise before. The question is, have you reassessed that or reevaluated it? Is it still relevant in the times that we're living in? And so some key questions to help get at your why and your purpose is about understanding what's your drive, what and who are you doing it for, what are your long-term goals, and ultimately, what really makes you tick. And this is on all levels, your business level, your personal level as well. And feel free to, if you want to share in the chat box about your why, we'd love to hear it. And so my why has always been about impact and community and family. And now we're going to get into self-care. And we talk about self-care on 3 levels. So I'm going to start with personal self-care. So why are we even talking about self-care? It's because in order to serve all the different people in your life, to be fully present for your clients, your family, your community, your friends, you need to be there in all ways. And it's about intentionally putting yourself on our agendas. I know that there are times where I've been last on my agenda, and I've seen many entrepreneurs be last on their own agendas, but it's about elevating yourself and giving yourself that permission, and recognizing that there's different time to actually schedule in and be intentional about. So it's your you time, for example, your partner, family, your clients, your community, your work time, your strategic time, and very importantly, your health appointments. Those of you who might be Muppet fans and fans of Kermit the Frog, the creator Jim Henson died very young at the age of 53, because he had walking pneumonia, and he's like, oh, it's just a cold. I can work through this. And that didn't have to happen, right? He could have taken that hour out to go to the doctor and to address it. So just remind people to take care of themselves. And what does that also mean? It's about being very mindful and awake, to be truly present in that moment, and tying it back to doing things that are in alignment with your purpose and your values. And it's about being positive with your mindset. So we are who we eat. Same thing with our thoughts. We are our thoughts. And so there's a great book by Charlie Harrari called Unlocking Greatness that I advocate that people read. He really gets into the power of the mind. And I think practically what I found helpful is to have and develop routines for your self-care. The start of your day, ideally, and also at night. So, for example, in the morning, I try to follow Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning, which goes by SAVER. So the S stands for starting your day in silence or deep breathing. The A is for affirmations. The V is for visualization. So you actually see your day kind of before it happens. The E is for exercise. The R is for reading, particularly inspirational reading. And the S is for scribing or journaling. And those 6 steps can be done in as little as 6 minutes or 60 minutes. And to me, that gives me structure and sets me up for the day. And then at night, I map out my day, so to speak. I print out my calendar, and I'm intentional about what I want to achieve for the following day. And feel free to share your routines in the chat as well, because we'd love to hear from you and share with one another what works for you. And of course, it's about your body, right? Staying hydrated. So there's a rule of thumb that you drink at least half of your body weight every day, to try to limit or stay away from carbohydrates and fats. And my father always said moderation was the key. So that's my father's words in there. And it's so important to move throughout the day. A friend of mine says that sitting is the new smoking. So to really get up and move every hour, especially after being in front of our computers constantly, is so important. And then if you don't believe us, there might be some people that you're inspired by. So for example, people get a kick out of Warren Buffett playing ukulele as a way of winding down, or Seth Godin, the author and entrepreneur, saying no, like that's actually a full sentence. What to say yes to, what to say no to. And so I don't know where our financial balance wheel went. Here it is. I'm going to kick it over to you, Erin, as soon as I get the slide to cooperate. I'm not sure what happened to our balance there.
I saw it pop up for a moment. There we go.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. I love what you said about routine, Susan. I think it's so important. And I think sometimes we say we're going to do them, but actually writing it down and committing to it is so important. So these are two key themes I like to talk about: balance and uncommon, right? We all have gaps in our financial affairs somewhere. And sometimes you might have heard, right? We all have our eggs in one basket. So it's so important to focus on balance and how we diversify that risk. And we want to think about the best approach and planning in a way that creates the lifestyle we want, and for our business, how we want to grow it, but also that we're coming up with a system where we're saving and paying down our debt systematically, right? So we talk about that. And we know that as business owners, the greatest return comes from our business. So over the past year, we're asking ourselves, how do we get from a place of concern to confident, right? How are we going to mitigate that modern day stress that's influencing our financial decision making, right? So my goal is to help the clients that I'm working with identify those threats that could prevent us from becoming successful and really understand what to prioritize and tackle first. So if we think about, right, our financial health, you can think of it in the form of a house, right? When we think about the foundational piece, that's our savings and a protection, right? We can't have a strong house if we don't have a great foundation in place. What happens if the foundation is too small, right? The house falls over. And we want to think about the size of the rooms in the house, right? This is representing our goals and what sort of funding we need to achieve those goals. And it all goes back to financial balance, right? We wouldn't want to put a roof on the house before we built the foundation, right? It's like Susan and I were talking about, it's like having whipped cream without the ice cream on your sundae, right? So it's so important to have a strong foundation and follow an order of operations. Super important. So when we think about all the things that could keep us from achieving our financial success, I'd like to group them into 3 areas. The first one being financial disorganization. Think about how many different financial institutions we interact with. For the average American, it's 10 to 15, right? We might have a checkings and savings account, maybe a retirement account. Our kid's college account is sitting somewhere, and maybe an old 401k we haven't looked at in 10 years, right? So it's kind of like that junk drawer in our kitchen. We're working with so many different accounts and it's disorganized, and they're not all talking to each other about what's best for your business, for your personal financial goals. So it's so important to know how much is in each, how we can access them and get a strong strategy in place. We want to make sure everything is coordinated together. The second threat to our success and our money is the true cost of living. And of course, that's inflation, but show of hands, how many of you think taxes are on the rise? I don't think they're going down anytime soon, unfortunately, right? So inflation impacts our daily buying decisions, right? We talk about lifestyle enhancements versus lifestyle maintenance, and new inventions come our way, right? We didn't have an iPhone 10 years ago. We want to be able to take advantage of that, or maybe new equipment or production that we'll need in the next couple of years for our business, right? We want to make sure that we're being prepared for those life events. And those can be good life events, right? Maybe our friends starting a business that we want to invest in. And those not so great life events, right? Maybe we get a flat tire or the dryer breaks. So we want to be prepared for those great opportunities and those not so great life events. And it's so important that we walk through those threats. Finally, failed products and strategies, right? So this goes back to that idea of over relying on any one product or financial strategy, right? We don't want all of our eggs in one basket, or we'll never achieve that financial success that we're entitled to. So for example, putting all of our savings into just a taxable retirement account, or having protection in place that disappears just when we need it. My goal is to help clients decrease taxes and increase dollars on our balance sheet so we can hold on to more. So let's talk about 4 ways to obtain financial balance, right? How can we actually do this? What are the steps we can take? We know that the first thing we need to do is protect what we have today before we're worried about planning for tomorrow. So what I mean by this is protection from liability, disability, or God forbid, premature death. And that's all about the type, the amount, and how we position that protection, right? This could be with human life value, legal documents, right? We're planning for more long-term future-based planning decisions, right? With our assets, we want to make sure that we're saving in the most tax efficient way, and those dollars are being placed strategically on our balance sheet, right? How is the business functioning? What does our lifestyle look like? We know that we can't control our rate of return, unfortunately, but we can control our rate of savings and where that money goes. And we know that it's more critical now than ever, as we've just lived through a pandemic, that having that bucket of savings that we can access is so important, right? And to support ourselves and our business and our employees as well. So we know that clients who are really financially resilient have built enough life event funds. They are protecting themselves and self-insuring their business and themselves and their families. So if we are in a position of job loss or a major medical event, right, where our income might drastically stop, we're okay. We're in a position where we'll be able to take care of ourselves and maybe still help others. So some of you might have heard me talk about this. This is one of my favorite topics, right? 3 buckets of money. And we know that our objective for any kind of savings or investing that we have personally or for a business, we want to grow those assets and prepare for the future. But there's 3 really important things we have to think about whenever we're making a savings or investment decision. And that's timeline. How soon do we need to access that money? Is it going to be in a year or 2 for a down payment on a home? Is it going to be for retirement for the next 20, 30 years? Is it going to be for sending our kids to college in the next 10 years, right? We have to think about timeline. Second is purpose. What are those dollars going to be used for? And finally, taxation. When we go to access that money or take it out, how are we going to be taxed or penalized when we do access that money? Super important to think about that. So we want to diversify those dollars into 3 buckets, right? It doesn't matter how much we make. It's more important of where we put those dollars. So to give a quick overview, we really should be diversifying from a liquidity perspective, how easily we can access those dollars, and from a tax perception when we take those dollars out. So path to success, right? We want to first protect ourselves, we want to grow our business, and ultimately achieve financial freedom. So we have to think, what is your personal strategy for protecting and building wealth, right? There's a life cycle to all of our businesses and our personal finances. We have to think about how our business is valued. what our plan for retirement distribution is. And we have to think, what could happen to our business if we can't go to work tomorrow because of an injury or an illness, right? What if we take a 12-month vacation? And I don't mean sitting in Hawaii, right, with a drink in our hand. What if we really cannot go to work and bring in revenue, right? Provide for our employees, provide employee benefits for them. Cash flow would stop, right? We have to think about what would happen. So let's hone in a little bit more on the protection piece. So there's 3 dimensions of risk that we want to protect against. The first one being cash flow, right? With business cases, right? With our, as being an owner, right? Or operator of a business, it's really important to think about what could happen if something happened due to illness or injury, right? Cash flow could stop completely or be dramatically reduced. Think about what would happen with all those moving pieces. Second is asset, right? The business will fall in value and could maybe become worth nothing or even less than nothing if we have ongoing liabilities that will come from this. And third is the business itself, right? It could cease to exist, meaning that other partners, employees, their loved ones would all experience that financial hardship as well. So important to have a good protection plan in place for the business owner to address all 3 of these areas. Right? How do we protect our ability to grow this wealth? Right? There's different insurance pieces that come into play here. Right? We have to keep in mind of our key employees through all of this. They're a big part of our blueprint of that company. So we want to be providing them with employee benefits, right? Maybe that's a group health insurance or disability insurance to protect against loss of income, certain contracts, right? Legal contracts, cybersecurity we have to think about. So there's a lot of different pieces that fall into this protection umbrella to take a look at, right? Susan, I'll pass it back over to you. I think you're on mute, Susan.
Thank you. My computer was not cooperating. Just to underscore the importance of the legal documentation, at a minimum, personally, to have a will, healthcare proxy, and power of attorney document. Wanted to, if you take a look at these 4 entertainers and celebrities, and besides the fact that they have gone to another world and are no longer on this earth, what do they have in common? And you could put that in the chat. Let's see. Any guesses?
Entertainers. Michael, yeah, that's one.
Okay, so we won't keep you in suspense any longer. 3 out of the 4 of them died without having any wills, which made their estates very hard to settle. And Heath Ledger didn't update his will prior to his death to account for his child. So we don't know what's going to happen, but what we can control is our behavior and preparing for some eventualities. So, Erin, why don't you continue talking to us about the path to growing?
Sure, thank you. So, right, once we've protected ourselves and the business, we really want to focus on the growth of the business. And there's 2 components to this. The first part being growing the right culture, right? As business owners, we want to be able to provide a collaborative work environment with our employees, right? We want to be able to grow a great business with a shared mission and values and behaviors, right? That's the first foundational piece of growing our business. The second piece is, right, the fun part, the investment part, right? Talking about where we're saving those dollars, right? What is the most tax efficient way to do so? And we can get a little bit more into conversations about that offline. So finally, right, the path to success ends with financial freedom. That's the goal that we all want for ourselves personally, our families, our business, right? We have to think about how we're changing the paradigm, right, from our behaviors, right, from now to how we want to be in long term. How do we do this? We want to really identify what we want, put those goals into place, and really develop a strong strategy and action plan to achieve those along the way, and ultimately realize our vision. This is both personally and professionally. It's super important. Susan, I'm going to pass it back over to you to talk about professional health.
Yes, absolutely. So I think what you've gotten here so far is about being prepared and having a guide and knowing that you don't necessarily have to do it on your own. So professional health, again, it's stressing the importance on getting clarity on your goals. What do you want to achieve quarterly, annually, and longer term? And then it's about what are the actions, what are the strategies and then the tactics that you're going to take to meet your goals, and how are you measuring your progress. And it's not about a one and done, right? It's how do you continuously improve in your business and consider what are the resources that you need to succeed, right? In terms of your mindset, is there any additional education or training? Do you have the people that you need to be in place? Are you expanding your networks? Is there anything about physical space that you need to address? And certainly technology comes into play. And I always advocate for making sure that your support system is in place to bolster your professional success. So do have that support system within your company, as in terms of key staff roles, or if you're a solopreneur, are there mentors and sponsors in addition to having people in your company? Are there other peers or other CEOs that you can go to brainstorm with and have in your back pocket, so to speak? And who is the right hands in your business? I find that entrepreneurs, business owners, it's really important to be able to keep focused on your key strategic initiatives, because it really enables you to leverage your strengths and to shine, and frees you up to work more efficiently when you have that right hand person that you can hand some things off to, and make sure that your company continues to move forward. And so in bringing all this self-care together, it's assessing how you're doing, where you are. So again, knowing where you want to go, where you are, and what's that map to get you from where you are to where you want to get to. And it's about intentionally creating your life by design. So you're CEO of your business perhaps, but you're also CEO of your life. And the final sort of lesson or topic that we're going to talk about today is about being open to possibilities and taking risks. And it's really what we call becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable. And we are particularly inspired by the two quotes, and I'll read them for you because it's hard to read on this screen. But Walt Disney said, "All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them." Keyword being courage, so getting out of that comfort zone a bit. And then Robert Frost with, "I took the one less traveled, and that has made all the difference." Meaning, maybe he didn't take the popular path or did what other people are doing, but forged a different path or a new way. And that's where, what I say, the magic growth happens. And it's to really truly recognize that change is a part of business and a part of your life. And it's when you go outside of what might be comfortable that growth happens. You open yourself up to more possibilities. Yesterday, I was on a webinar where Adam Grant was talking about his new book, Rethink. And he talks about, looking at things in a matter that maybe you've been doing things the same way, but maybe you can open yourself up to some other possibilities when you take a look at it from a different lens. And he talks about having people in your life who will be the folks who can give you feedback, and not just asking, but intentionally saying, what is it that I can do better, and how can I think about this differently to take my business to the next level. And then again, we understand what you want, get super clear, because then it's a clearer path to pursuing it, and to actively seek out your mentors and sponsors who can help you get there. You don't have to go it alone. And just want to give you an example of where I personally have, in a big way, went out of my comfort zone. When I was in the corporate world, I was faced with getting a very high profile project done for an investment bank. And I got handed this technology project, after it had failed 8 times before. And I was told that, I'm sure on your watch, Susan, this project won't fail. And I didn't have any prior experience with this. And I had a choice to make. I could embrace this challenge, or I could walk away and say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable. I don't know if I can do this. And I decided to embrace that challenge, and to look at, well, what is it that I did know? I knew how to ask good questions. I knew psychology, and I knew I had to engage people in this process. So in the course of talking to stakeholders, I learned that the stakeholders weren't involved with the process. So I needed to involve them globally from different departments, did that early and often, got communication, and was able to successfully deliver this project for the first time, and saved the company $12 million a year in the process. And it was because I said yes to a challenge that was super uncomfortable for me. And Erin, you have a story to share about one of your clients.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that example, Susan. I think it's really eye-opening for all of us. So I'll share an example where a client of mine who owns a physical therapist practice, how she kind of took over and excelled the past year. So of course, when COVID first happened and businesses were shutting down, she was very nervous, right? She was worried that patients wouldn't feel comfortable coming into her practice. And she made the decision, right? She was open to possibilities and taking risks to move to a virtual setting. So she now runs a very successful hybrid practice. And by keeping herself, her staff organized and prioritizing, right, and taking that risk, she now is running two different business models, and her income has almost doubled actually over the past year because of that. And circling back to a point that Susan had made earlier, I think four really key traits that we have to embody is our patience, determination, stamina, and focus. And that's how we really can be comfortable with moving forward. Susan, I'll pass it back over to you to talk about how some business leaders that we know have embraced the uncomfortable.
Yes. So some familiar faces up here around, what have they done in terms of embracing the uncomfortable? And it's about opening themselves up to trying new things, to meeting new people, to recognize the discomfort and move past it, to surround themselves with people who challenge you. And one of the things that Adam Grant said was his challenge network. To be intentional and take baby steps, and to take not just any risk, but it's more educated and calculated risks. And then it's about, again, recognizing, change has happened, will happen, continue to happen. And feel free to share in the chat, what changes have you seen in your business or in your industry, right? This is something that we're constantly evolving. And so how do we apply these lessons? So we talk about a process called CPAS, and that stands for C is for clarity. So again, as we started out this discussion, getting very clear on your goals. The next part is permission. So giving yourself permission to put yourself on the agenda, and that goes to self-care. A is for having access, gaining access to ideas and solutions by working with professionals and educating yourself on possibilities. So it's really about empowering yourself through education, whether that be working with other professionals like Erin or myself, or through reading articles, being a part of organizations. But it's really seeking out the information and the experts to support you in your journey. And then the first S stands for security. So it's ensuring that your personal, your financial, and your professional home is built on that solid foundation to support your goals. And speaking of support, that's the last S in the process. It's surrounding yourself with what we call a personal board of directors for all facets of your life. People think about just company board of directors, but who are those personal board of directors? Because we know how lonely it gets at the top. I learned that early on in my career and working with CEOs and CFOs of middle market companies, where they don't have necessarily a sounding board of folks to go to. So just know you don't have to go it alone. And so we also know that life can get in the way and things could get in the way of people moving forward. So we want to just call out some things, right? So sometimes it's our mindset around, well, I can't do that, right? And that can get in the way from us moving forward. Or people saying, yeah, I don't have time for that. But it's about intentionally taking the time. What if it's 15 minutes to ground yourself today or for the day? Or what if it's 15 minutes where you're going to intentionally focus on some business development outreach? You know, it's about that intention and how you decide to spend the time. Or people say, you know what, I don't want to know about my finances, or, I don't want to be measured in my business, or just don't have a lack of interest. But again, you're the CEO of your life, you're the CEO of your business. You get to decide how you want to show up and the actions that you choose to take. So speaking of actions, we'd love to hear from you. What is a takeaway and or an action that you got for you? What will you commit to doing going forward? Because you've spent now almost an hour with us today, and time, as we know, is very precious and important. We'd love to hear what did you get for you that you can implement right away in your life and your business. And we hope you're inspired to do something today that your future self will thank you for and go, woohoo, so happy that I attended this program today with Erin and Susan because there was this nugget that I got, and these are the results. Because remember, sitting here today, you're the product of actually actions you took 3 months ago. So Erin, I'll turn it over to you to bring us home.
Thank you. So for attending today's session, Susan and I want to offer to continue the conversation with you all, and we're providing you with the opportunity to sign up for a 30-minute complimentary session with each of us to really hone in on how you can apply those concepts that we talked about today to your personal situation. And next slide will show our contact information. So email, our phone number, our LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out. We really are happy to help you personally dive into this. And now we will open it up to some questions.
Yes, so I'm going to start the share. There's a question about whether or not we're going to be sharing these slides. I think we will make the slides available along with the recording, a link to the recording, so you'll have that. And I love the comments that are coming into the chat, so I just want to read that. So Michael's saying he's going to create a mastermind group and personal board of directors.
Wow.
Love that.
Awesome.
Somebody, I can't read who it is, needs to update their will.
Update your will, Vicky. Yes.
Awesome. Somebody saying stronger self-care routines and permission to put myself first and create that personal board of directors. Awesome. Greg taking time for health and well-being. Self-care and working on my LinkedIn profile. I really I'm really inspired by all of you and what you're going to commit to do. What questions do you have for us? Feel free to call it out, or raise your hand, or your physical hand, or your electronic hand, or type it in the chat, however you feel most comfortable.
I have a question for you, Susan. I'll jump in. Did you hear me?
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was waiting. I didn't want to just jump in. What is your suggestion on how to begin to create a personal board of directors? What's the best approach? And obviously you could, well, go ahead. You answer that if you can.
Yes, sure. So I would think about what sort of support that you need. So if your support is, I need some accountability, or, I want to connect with somebody who's good at marketing, or I want somebody who's good with money and finances or something. Those, you start to fill it with those people that you admire, or if they're just people in general, like you see that they follow some routines and that you're connected to on some level, I would reach out to those folks and say, I'm assembling my personal board of directors. I really admire XYZ about you, and I would be honored if you would be on my personal board of directors. And then you decide the frequency you want to meet with that board of directors, if it's monthly or what have you, and how you would like your board of directors to serve you.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you very much.
You're
Great
welcome.
idea.
And Susan, this is Greg.
Yes,
thank
Greg.
you, and Erin, for making the time today. The mentor, is that something similar to like a life coach or a career coach?
So that's a good question. So let me tell you how I think about mentors, sponsors, and coaches. So a mentor is somebody who can help guide you. You can be more, I'll call it casual with your mentor, ask them any types of questions. A sponsor is somebody who advocates for you, particularly when you're not in the room. There's somebody who is going to use political capital, if you will, on your behalf. And then coaches are folks who I would say guide you and also keep you accountable for your goals. So similar to a mentor, you can ask questions on, but your coach is going to help you, just like a trainer, get you to the next level. So if you think about athletes training for the Olympics, or just elite athletes who want to get better in their game, they often have a coach or a trainer that is going to help them get to that next level. So Erin, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I agree with everything you said, Susan. And sometimes we need different perspectives, right? As you said, with someone for the Olympics, right? They might have a trainer and a coach. Sometimes we need different people who are helping to coach us and to guide us separate from our personal board of directors that we're building. So great question, Greg. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
Steve,
thanks.
go ahead. You
Thanks
have a
for
question?
answering it.
And
Oh,
I
my
think
pleasure.
Steve has a question.
Well, it's sort of a question. I like the idea of a personal board of directors, but we all have friends who tell us what we want to hear, and we all have friends who tell us what we need to hear, whether we like it or not. I mean, how do we discern between those who are going to actually help us or those who are actually going to tell us what they think we want to hear, which is no help at all?
Yes. What a wonderful question, and it's so timely. Again, I'll go back to this webinar I attended yesterday with Adam Grant, because he says that he advocates for having this challenge network. So people who aren't going to necessarily tell you what you want to hear, but to give you feedback around how can you be better at your own game, right? And so the conversation that I listened to yesterday was between Adam Grant and the dean of the Wharton School. And so one of the things that Adam Grant says is that he's like, I'm evidence-based, and the dean gave him some feedback around, well, Adam, maybe you should think about saying that you're evidence informed, that it's not just about the data, right? You need to have other perspectives around it, because perhaps data can be biased. So it's about having those people who, surrounding yourself with some people who are going to help you get better at that game, not just here, but really give you that feedback about how can I think about this differently, and asking the question directly around, how can I think about this in my business differently? What are some things that I'm missing or not thinking about? And to be open to that. And in Adam Grant's network, Malcolm Gladwell is one of his challenge network people. They apparently have this sparring, fun, intellectually sparring match going forward. But the question is, who are those people? Finding those people who, and making yourself vulnerable to hearing the feedback. Because I'm not perfect. I know that there's lots of things I can do better, but it's about communicating that you want to get better and you're open to that feedback. Erin, anything to add on that?
Ditto to all of that, Susan. And Steve, another perspective to take is, think about, it goes back to goals. What are those, when you're building that board of directors, what are those personal, professional goals that these people have, right? Are they showing traits, or have they done certain things that prove they're successful, and are they actions that you want to follow and have for your business or your personal life? So I think honing in on, right, talking about goals and actions people have taken is something to consider, as well as you're building this personal board of directors.
Other questions? Some people are needing to hop off. Thanks for joining us, Jack.
Thanks for coming, Jack.
So Erin, you want to wrap it up?
Sure. Susan and I want to thank you all for coming this afternoon. We hope you guys found it really valuable, and hopefully you're inspired to take some kind of action, either personally or professionally, from this. And we will send a follow-up email out to you all with this recording and our contact information that will include that complimentary session. And you will know where to reach us if you have any other questions. And we want to thank you again for joining us today.
And
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. It's our pleasure. We'll stay on for a couple of minutes. We understand if you have to hop off, but we'll stay around for a few minutes if people have some additional questions that they might have been shy to ask.
I love the books you suggested. I haven't read either of them, so
Okay.
I'm wondering why you never suggested them before. So anyway,
I need to read them as well.
I love it. I'm a sponge. I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So tell me about this one, Charlie, is it Charlie
Charlie
Harrod?
Harrari. So Charlie Harrari is, I guess, was a former lawyer, and through his journey as a lawyer, really thought about, oh, you know, is this the path that I want to take? And he explored that and realized his calling was more around advising companies and advising people and bringing out the best in people. And he shares some research about you know, assumptions that people make about others, and just how powerful, like if you tell somebody, oh, this group of students is really great, but this group of students isn't, and how that just that influence impacts somebody, just the power of the mind, and that's not always true, just making that assumption, and how you can train your mind to be open to possibilities, because our brains are wired to keep us safe and small.
Yeah.
And our brains haven't caught up with the times to know when, like, taking a risk in a career is actually good for us. Our brain doesn't know how to distinguish that, so we have to train it and get a control of it. And so that's kind of what unlocking greatness is about, and he talks about greatness in all areas of your life and has some exercises and things. And he also has a podcast that's about
Yeah, I noticed that. I checked that out. So I have a struggle with choosing which book is my monthly book to actually completely be absorbed into and completely kind of live that book. So that's what I do every month. And I signed up for Audible, which I never did before. I like I have physical books here too, but the Audible is great because I can actually stop working, not worry about reading. My eyes are bugging out from too much Zoom, and just walk around with the headset on and listen to the audiobook and just really absorb it. It's great. This may be the book of the month for June. I haven't chosen yet. It's already the 4th. So thank you. I love it.
You're welcome. You're
Great
quite welcome.
presentation, guys. Great presentation.
Thank you so much.
Great information. Love those slides too.
So you will have
Thank
those
you.
slides.
Yes.
I can't wait to see the slides and listen to this again. That's a really smart idea to give the audio, or both audio and visual, or no?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Both.
I love it. I'd like to be able to listen to it again. Great information.
Absolutely.
Inspiring. I'm so glad that I had the reminder on my Google virtual assistant. Thank you.
So thank
And
you, Google virtual assistant.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know what? If everyone doesn't use that, I got Siri reminding me. I got Google. I can't forget. No, I can't miss a meeting. I can't forget. It goes bing. I got bells going off everywhere. So I'm so glad I made this one. I can't believe you guys didn't get more attendees.
We had
lunch.
double that were signed up. I think
Yeah.
maybe because it's a Friday, and maybe
I think it's just hit or miss because there's so many meetings and nobody knows what they missed. You need to promote the what out of this, because this is really, really good. I'm sad for everyone that missed it. Good job.
Thank you so much. I'm
Yeah.
really glad that you walked away with some tangible tips, because that's exactly what
that's and I'm inspired. I had to get off the phone and make some calls now. So
I love that. I'm so happy to hear that. Awesome.
Well, that's it. That's the goal. Get off my derriere, pardon me, I call myself, and make the calls. That's what we got to get on the phone and do it. So
there you go.
Have a great weekend. I really appreciate it.
You too, Michael. It was great seeing you.
You too.
And
Bye.
Steve, I like your little guy in the background there.
That's my grandson.
Very
nice, cute.
Are you going to put this up on YouTube?
We can do.
I mean, you should start your own channel, and that way you can always just paste the link. And YouTube's got amazing SEO, so this will help you promote your series. Is this going to be an ongoing series? Who's actually running the series? Both of you, or you, Susan, or you, Erin?
we kind of just, Susan and I wanted to come together and we had such great ideas to share. We said, hey, let's come together and do a webinar together. So this was maybe first of many.
Well, that's why you should get a YouTube channel.
So I can certainly, I don't know, Erin, with your, if you're able to, but I have my YouTube channel. We could certainly put the recording up there.
Awesome. That would be great.
Put
And
them
I
on
have-
both.